Hi, this is G from Native Speakers Academy, and welcome to another edition of 10-Minute English. This is where we introduce short educational articles in English from recent news or from around the internet. These articles are for upper intermediate and advanced level students. Those levels are B2 and C1 in the Common European Framework. You can see, hopefully, on the right side of your screen the article that we are going to have a look at today. Connecticut schools pin down and restrain staggering number of kids. Doesn't seem to be quite right, the grammar in the title there. I think there's an article missing between restrain and staggering. But that's what happens in titles. They shorten them, and anything that's not absolutely necessary disappears. Before we get into the article, I'd like to remind you can visit our homepage, which is www.nsa-slovakia.com. That's Native Speakers Academy Center for Educational Theory and Research, and on our homepage you can find a wealth of information. Today I'd like to highlight our open and closed questions. If you have not recently studied questions, then this will be a very interesting expose of how you can use questions to your benefit with lots of practical examples. So don't get caught out in those tricky interview questions again. So there's a lot of information there. Feel free to check it out. Also, on the right side of the page you can find our YouTube site. Again, hundreds of videos there. Feel free to explore at your leisure. If you're interested, you might want to check out my reading of the poem. It's not really a poem. What is it? It's a statement made, which I think that a lot of people will empathize with. Also, you could check out our Pinterest page. It's under my name. You can see it there in the center of the screen. We have a large number of boards on all kinds of issues in education. If you don't want to go through the boards, you can randomly scroll through the most recent posts. What do we have here? The magic of home birth, different language information about documentary films, educational streaming TV. If you click on one of the infographics, for example this one here, what should happen is that it should appear on the screen. Except on my computer, absolutely nothing is happening right now. Let's go back. Okay, this is okay, this is okay. There we go. What happens when your brain doesn't sleep? So for all you workaholics out there, this is for you. We don't have time to look at it today, but I might do a little presentation on it next week. We will see how much time we have. And remember, time is the only enemy. Here on the screen is today's article, and as you can see I have highlighted, as usual, the important and interesting language from the article. You can pause the video and check the words before we go through the article, or you can guess from the context and have a look at them afterwards, checking your understanding. If you do want to research the language, I recommend Google Define. Type in define to Google, followed by the word or phrase that you are interested in. Here's one I prepared earlier. Staff. Staff, as in I was thinking about the group of people who work in organizations, or perhaps in schools. You see very often the staff room, the place where the staff, the working teachers, have their break and a little bit of privacy, maybe. The basic definition of staff: all the people employed by a particular organization, also known as a workforce or human resources, manpower, or the teachers in a school or college. But if we go into other meanings, we find very interestingly it could be a group of officers assisting an officer in command of any army formation or administration headquarters. So it's military language, short for staff sergeant. Also, we find it as a long stick used as a support when walking or climbing, or as a weapon. Furthermore, a rod or scepter held as a sign of office or authority. Think about that stick that is often carried by wizards or witches in films. Interesting, don't you think? I feel that these definitions cross over. You could also go to the online etymology dictionary, and here you pretty much have the same information, perhaps slightly more detailed. So let's dive into the article. If you are ready, we will begin. The article, of course, is coming to you from ProPublica. Here's the original article on the left side. A link to it will be posted together with this online. Let's do it. Connecticut schools pin down and restrain staggering number of kids, by Annie Waldman at ProPublica. Visit the original article to support the author. Connecticut public schools are far too quick to restrain or isolate unruly children against their will, leaving hundreds with injuries and many others with unmet educational needs, a state report released last week found. The report cited significant concern that schools are overusing restraints and so-called seclusion, particularly on kids with emotional or intellectual disabilities. Where have we seen this happen before? See pre-World War II Germany. Over the past 3 years, Connecticut has recorded more than 90,000 instances of restraint and seclusion in public schools, and more than 1,300 injuries, at least 24 of them serious. I feel at this point I should explain that seclusion usually means isolating in a room an individual person, and restraints usually means to physically prevent a person from moving. That might be either by holding them or using something else to hold them. The numbers are staggering. Mickey Kramer, the Associate Child Advocate for Connecticut and one of the authors of the report, told ProPublica, "We realize that this is a pervasive, widespread problem." The report, which explored the cases of 70 students, it didn't even explore them all, described a 9-year-old student with autism who was placed in seclusion after refusing to say hello to a visitor, because it's a crime to not speak when you are told to, and a 4-year-old boy with a developmental delay who was restrained after throwing puzzle pieces on the floor and across the room. The younger boy's school plan said he could be shackled to an orthopedic chair that is not supposed to be used for restraints. Shackled being tied or fixed, like you see in old films about torture in history. It's like something out of a medieval dungeon. Excessive use of restraint and seclusion goes far beyond Connecticut schools. An investigation last year by ProPublica and NPR, I think that's American for National Public Radio, I could be wrong, based on government data showed that practices were used at least 267,000 times nationwide in just one school year. What are they doing? Are they employing prison staff in the schools? I would be scared even to search that term. I guarantee you if you search prison staff employed in schools, you'll find something about it. The actual number of incidents is almost certainly much higher. Several of the nation's largest school districts do not report the actual number of restraints to authorities, despite the count being mandated by law. And then you have to ask, what are they trying to hide? What are they trying to hide by not recording the information? Children with physical, emotional or intellectual disabilities comprise of nearly 3/4 of the total number of reported restraints. Hundreds of children are injured each year during restraints, and at least 20 have died as a result. Have died in school. Dead. But last week's report by Connecticut's Office of the Child Advocate found that many schools are not following the law and are often providing insufficient reasons for the intervention and otherwise failing to adequately document them. The lack of specific documentation is a critical finding, said the report. I would have thought the death of kids would be a critical finding. The report also said Connecticut's Department of Education does not have enough resources to monitor schools' compliance. Please give us more money. This schools must be the only institution in the world that when they fail, they get more. So there's absolutely no incentive to do well. Restraints aside, the watchdog agency also took issue with the spaces used for seclusion, which often included storage and utility closets, as well as other cell-like spaces. Cell-like spaces. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Source is ProPublica. A link will be added to this information online. So my thoughts and notes. I'm sure you have yours. These are mine. Kids are safer in school. Really? Doesn't sound like it to me. Can you imagine sending your kid to school and then getting the call, "I'm sorry, we've killed them"? There is a staggering use of prison language in the article. There's a staggering use of prison language in schools now. And if you haven't seen those articles about security cameras appearing all over schools, it's scary to say the least. And remember that anything or anyone who knows that they're being recorded changes their behavior. Do they lock the school doors to keep people out or in? Do they lock the school doors to keep people in or out? Perhaps it's to keep people in. And then they've got big fences and high walls and security guards and these are schools, places of learning and intelligence, right? That's why the physics teacher is a great physicist, the chemistry teacher is a great chemist, the English teacher is a great writer, the math teacher is a great mathematician, the art teacher is a fantastic artist. Will giving these people more money and resources solve anything, or will it just allow the problem to snowball and get bigger? What do you think? What is the difference between a school and an institution, and what should be the difference? Granted, these people are young people with learning problems, but the people looking after them should be highly trained to avoid these negative consequences. If you would like more information about this, you might want to explore the NSA reports, the school to prison pipeline relationship, and what have we done to our kids. You can type that into the search box at the top and the article will come up. And I think the school to prison pipeline article and research is still on the front page there. So get it while it's hot. What do you think about this situation? Drop me a line, leave me a message. That's about all we have time for today. As I said, you can get in touch with us. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. And if you are really interested, you might want to take one of our special one-to-one HD Skype English language study programs. Just send us an email for more info. So you can link up to us on Pinterest, through YouTube, or on Facebook, or on Google+. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. It's up to you to spread the information. Well, thank you very much for your time and attention today. Another episode will be posted shortly. Take care, and I will speak to you soon.